She gave her brother a key to my house and said, "Get used to him being around." I didn't argue, but when my security system alerted the police to a break-in the next day, she got used to bailing him out of jail. My girlfriend's brother, Kevin, is a force of nature. Specifically, he's like a tornado that somehow only targets refrigerators and clean bathrooms. He is 32 years old, but he has the ambition of a sloth on tranquilizers and the personal accountability of a golden retriever that just ate an entire birthday cake. His primary skills include leaving a trail of empty chip bags in his wake, explaining how his latest brilliant app idea is going to make him a millionaire once he finds a coder to do all the work for free, and borrowing $20 with the solemn promise of a man who has absolutely no intention of ever paying it back. For the 2 years I've been with his sister Sarah, my role in this little family drama has been that of the tolerant and mildly amused host. Kevin would show up at my house, which I bought with my own money from my own actual job, and treat it like his personal clubhouse. He'd drink my good beer, eat the leftovers I was specifically saving for lunch, and use my high-speed internet to lose money in online poker. Sarah, bless her heart, was a professional enabler. To her, Kevin wasn't a mooch, he was just finding himself. Apparently, he was looking for himself at the bottom of my box of imported snacks. She saw his lack of a job as a creative sabbatical and his constant need for cash as temporary liquidity issues. I'm pretty sure Kevin thinks a 401k is a type of marathon you run on a keyboard. I put up with it because I loved Sarah, and because, for the most part, Kevin's visits were an occasional nuisance, like a mosquito in a dark room. Annoying, but you figure you'll get it eventually. That all changed last Tuesday. I came home from work to find Sarah and Kevin in my kitchen. Kevin was, of course, eating a sandwich made with the expensive deli turkey I had just bought. He gave me a little wave with a turkey-filled hand. Sarah had that look on her face, the one that says, "I have made a unilateral decision, and I am now presenting it to you as a delightful surprise." "Guess what?" she said a little too brightly. "Mom and Dad are finally kicking Kevin out." I have to admit, a brief, beautiful fantasy flashed through my mind. A fantasy of a future free of unsolicited business advice from a man whose last job was a 3-week stint as a mall elf. "Wow," I said. "That's unexpected." "It's only for a couple of months," she said quickly. "He just needs a place to crash while he gets his new venture off the ground." Her eyes darted around my kitchen, my living room, my life. I could see where this was going. The mosquito was no longer just buzzing in the room. It was trying to sign a lease. "He's going to be staying here a lot more," she continued. "Just during the day mostly, to use the office. And maybe some nights if he's working late." I just stared at her. Before I could formulate a response that wouldn't involve the words, "absolutely not," she pulled a freshly cut key out of her pocket. It was a perfect, shiny copy of my house key. She handed it to her brother. "Here," she said to him, completely ignoring me. "Now you don't have to wait for us to be home." Then she turned to me, crossed her arms, and delivered the line that would alter the course of our lives. "Get used to him being around." It wasn't a suggestion, it was a command. In her mind, the debate was over. My home was now officially a co-working space and part-time flophouse for her deadbeat brother. And in that moment, something inside me didn't break, it just clicked into place. I wasn't mad, I was inspired. The path forward became beautifully, comically clear. I looked at Kevin, who was admiring his new key like it was a Nobel Prize. I looked at Sarah, who was watching me with a defiant look, expecting an argument. I decided not to give her one. I smiled. A big, warm, welcoming smile. "Okay," I said. The defiance on Sarah's face melted into confusion. "Okay?" "Yeah," I said, my smile unwavering. "If he needs a place to work, he needs a place to work. Family helps family. Welcome aboard, Kevin." Kevin grinned, his mouth full of my turkey. "Thanks, man. You won't even know I'm here." Oh, I knew that was a lie. But the beauty of my plan was that I actually wouldn't be the one to know he was there. The local police department, however, was about to become very familiar with his work schedule. You see, what Sarah and Kevin didn't know, because I had never bothered to tell them, was that 3 weeks ago I had my entire house fitted with a state-of-the-art, professionally monitored security system. We're talking door sensors, window sensors, motion detectors in every room, and cameras covering every angle of entry. It was a top-of-the-line system from a company that takes its job very, very seriously. When the system is armed and a sensor is tripped, it doesn't just make a loud noise. It sends a silent alarm directly to a monitoring station where a very serious person who has had way too much coffee immediately calls the police and reports a break-in in progress. I hadn't added Sarah to the authorized user list yet. I was planning to, but I just hadn't gotten around to it. And I certainly had no intention of adding her entrepreneurial brother. That night, after Sarah and Kevin had left, I opened the security app on my phone. I made sure all the sensors were working. I double-checked the monitoring settings. Intrusion detected? Yes. Dispatch police immediately? Absolutely. I set the master code, a simple 6-digit number that now felt like the launch code for the most satisfying missile in the world. The next morning as I left for work, I stood at the keypad by the door. I looked at Sarah. "Hey, I'm heading out. Don't forget to lock the deadbolt." "I won't," she said, kissing me goodbye. She had no idea that I wasn't just locking the door. With a few quick beeps, I armed the entire system to away mode. The little green light turned red. The trap was set. Now, all I had to do was wait for the mouse to go for the cheese. And knowing Kevin, he was probably aiming for the imported brie. Update 1. The glorious, beautiful, world-shakingly satisfying notification came to my phone at exactly 11:17 a.m. the next day. I was in a meeting, pretending to care about quarterly projections, when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I had set a custom vibration pattern for the security app, a frantic little buzz that felt like a drum roll. I excused myself and stepped out into the hallway. I pulled out my phone. The screen was a beautiful tapestry of alerts. Front door opened, 11:15 a.m. Living room motion detected, 11:16 a.m. Alarm triggered, intrusion detected, 11:16 a.m. Police dispatched, in a.m. My heart sang. I immediately opened the app's live camera feed, and there he was. My man, Kevin. He was standing in the middle of my living room, holding a carton of my orange juice, drinking directly from it. The look on his face was pure, blissful ignorance. He had no idea that his every move was being watched by me and a team of highly caffeinated security professionals. He had no idea that 2, maybe 3 police cruisers were currently en route to his location. Lights flashing, sirens probably off so as not to spook the burglar. I watched, absolutely captivated. This was better than any movie. He finished his swig of juice, put the carton back in the fridge, a minor miracle in itself, and then plopped down on my couch. He put his feet, shoes and all, up on my new coffee table. He pulled out his phone, probably to check on the progress of one of his many non-existent business ventures. The best part was the audio. The new cameras had crystal clear 2-way audio. I didn't activate my end, of course. I just listened. The house was silent, except for the sound of Kevin scrolling through his phone. Then, I saw it. Through the front window camera, I saw the reflection of flashing blue and red lights. They were here. I switched to the doorbell camera feed. 2 police officers were walking up my front path, calm and professional, one with his hand resting on his service weapon. They didn't knock. They saw the front door was slightly ajar. The first officer pushed it open slowly and yelled, "Police! Anyone in the house, make yourself known." I switched back to the living room camera. Kevin shot up from the couch like he'd been electrocuted. His face was a perfect portrait of what the hell is happening. He dropped his phone. "Hey," he yelled back, his voice cracking. "I'm in here." The officers entered the room, weapons now drawn but pointed downwards. "Sir, put your hands where I can see them and get on the floor." "Whoa, whoa, whoa," Kevin squeaked, his hands shooting up in the air. It's cool. I have a key. My sister's boyfriend lives here." "Sir, on the floor now." I watched, giddy with delight, as Kevin clumsily got down on his stomach on my very expensive rug. The officers were professional. They cuffed him and got him back on his feet. "What's your name, sir?" one officer asked. "Kevin," he whimpered. "Kevin, we received a report of a break-in at this address. The security system was triggered. Can you tell us who you are?" "I'm Kevin. Sarah's brother. She's dating the guy who owns the house. She gave me a key." He was starting to sound hysterical. "Okay, the officer said calmly. And is your name on the lease or the deed to this house? Well, no, but is there anyone here who can disarm the security system or verify that you're supposed to be here? No, they're at work, but I have a key, he kept repeating, as if the key was a magical talisman that made laws disappear. The officer spoke into his radio, confirming the homeowner's name, my name, not Kevin's. All right, Kevin, the officer said, turning back to him. For now, you're coming with us. We have to treat this as an unauthorized entry until we can figure out what's going on. They walked him out of my house in handcuffs and put him in the back of a police car. I saved the entire video clip to my phone, a precious memento of a day I would cherish forever. The phone call from Sarah came about an hour later. I was back in my meeting, the picture of professional calm. I let it go to voicemail. The message was a masterpiece. It was a solid minute of pure, uncut rage. What did you do? Kevin is in jail. The police arrested him. He called me from the police station. He said your alarm went off. You did this on purpose. You need to get down there right now and get him out and drop the charges. Call me back now. I listened to it twice, just to savor it. Then I texted her back. Just got your message. Sounds stressful. What charges? Her reply was instant. Breaking and entering. Because of your stupid alarm, you need to fix this. I wrote back. Wow, breaking and entering is serious. I didn't know he did that. I can't drop any charges. The police are the ones who arrested him based on my security company's report. It's out of my hands, but I'm happy to provide the police with the video footage from my security cameras if it helps them with their investigation. She didn't reply for 10 minutes. I imagine her brain was trying to process the fact that I had just offered to hand over high-definition video evidence of her brother committing the crime she wanted me to make disappear. Her final text was just, I need to get bail money. Are you going to help? I replied with a single, beautiful, life-affirming word. No. Now she's on her way to the city courthouse to try and bail out her 32-year-old brother, the brilliant entrepreneur. She's about to find out that temporary liquidity issues get a lot more serious when a judge is involved, and she's going to have to get used to him being around. The legal system. Update 2. It's been a wild couple of weeks. My life has been blissfully quiet, while Sarah's has turned into a low-budget legal drama that she is not enjoying one bit. So Sarah did manage to bail Kevin out. It turns out that bailing someone out for a felony charge, and yes, breaking and entering is a felony in our state, is not cheap. She had to drain her savings account and, I later found out, borrow money from her parents. Kevin was released with a court date and a whole lot of paperwork. The first conversation I had with Sarah after the incident was a real treat. She came over that night and she was breathing fire. You need to call the district attorney and tell them this was all a misunderstanding, she demanded. She didn't even say hello. I was making a cup of tea. I turned around and looked at her, my face a perfect mask of calm confusion. A misunderstanding? Sarah, the alarm went off, the police were dispatched, and they found a man who does not live here, alone in my house. What part of that is a misunderstanding? He had a key, she yelled, for what felt like the 100th time. A key doesn't make it his house, I said, stirring my tea. If I give you a key to my car, it doesn't mean you can just take it to Mexico. You had no right to give him that key. I never gave him permission to be here alone. He's my brother. He was going to work. His work involved putting his dirty shoes on my new coffee table while drinking my juice, I said. I have the video, remember? It's very clear. It doesn't look like he was drafting a business plan. She just stared at me, the rage in her eyes slowly being replaced by a dawning horror. I think it was the first time she realized that I was not going to back down. I was not going to fix this for her. So what happens now? She asked, her voice much smaller. Now, I said, Kevin has to deal with the consequences of his actions, and you have to deal with the consequences of yours. Her brilliant idea to solve the problem was to double down. She insisted that the only way to prove to the authorities that it was all a big mistake was for me to officially add Kevin to the authorized user list for my security system. If he has a code, she argued, then they'll see he's allowed to be here, and they'll drop the charges. The logic was so beautifully flawed, so wonderfully stupid, that I almost admired it. Sarah, That's like trying to get out of a speeding ticket by saying you were planning on getting your driver's license next week. The crime has already happened. Giving him a code now doesn't change the fact that he entered my house without authorization and triggered a police response. So you won't do it? No, I said. I will not. In fact, I did the opposite. The next day, I had a locksmith come and rekey all the locks on my house. The key she had given Kevin was now just a useless piece of metal. I also installed another camera, a dome camera with 360-degree vision, right in the middle of the living room ceiling. It looked like the eye of a very judgmental god. The best part, though, was the new feature I enabled on my doorbell. It's a smart doorbell that uses facial recognition. I uploaded a nice, clear photo of Kevin's face. Now, anytime he sets foot on my property, my phone will immediately alert me with the message, "Known threat detected at front door." Kevin, meanwhile, was not handling his new life as a potential felon well. As a condition of his bail, he had a curfew and was not allowed to leave the state. This put a real damper on his plan to attend a crypto influencer networking retreat in Miami. The two of them, stewing in their parents' house, came up with another brilliant plan. About a week ago, Sarah called me. Her tone was sweet, almost sickeningly so. "Hey," she said, "Kevin left some of his really important work documents at your place. His prospectus for his new company. He really needs them for a meeting with an investor. Would it be okay if he just swung by to pick them up? I'll be with him." I knew for a fact that the only document Kevin had ever brought to my house was a half-finished Sudoku puzzle. This was a setup. They were going to try to establish that he had a right to be there. "You know, Sarah, I'm not comfortable with that, given the current legal situation," I said, my voice full of fake concern. "But I want to be helpful. Tell you what, just tell me where the documents are, and I'll mail them to you." She started stammering. "Oh well, he doesn't really remember where he put them. It would be easier if he just looked himself." "No can do," I said. "But hey, I have an idea. Let's do a video call. You can direct me around the house on camera, and we'll find them together. It'll be like a fun scavenger hunt." She hung up on me. Their desperation was becoming my primary source of entertainment. They were trapped in a mess of their own making, and every attempt they made to get out just made the hole deeper. They thought they could just take over my life, my space. They didn't realize my space came with a 24/7 monitoring service and a direct line to the local police department, and the police, unlike me, are not open to negotiation. Final update. It's been 4 months, and I am happy to report that my house is and will forever remain a Kevin-free zone. The final act of this ridiculous comedy played out in a beige-colored courtroom, and the finale was everything I could have hoped for. Kevin's day in court was last month. Sarah and her parents had apparently spent a small fortune on a lawyer who looked like he had just stepped out of a TV show. The lawyer's grand strategy was to argue that this was all a family misunderstanding and that I was a vindictive ex-boyfriend using the legal system for revenge. The district attorney, a no-nonsense woman who looked like she had heard every excuse in the book, was not impressed. And when she called me to the stand, I was more than happy to clear things up. The DA asked me, "Sir, did you ever give the defendant, Kevin, permission to be in your home alone?" "No, I did not." "Did you give him a key to your home?" "No, I did not." "And when you left your home on the morning of the incident, did you arm your security system?" "Yes, I did, as I do every day." Then came the best part. The DA said, "Your Honor, the prosecution would like to play a short video clip taken from the plaintiff's own security camera system on the day of the incident." She played the whole thing for the court. The judge, the lawyers, Kevin, and his horrified family got to watch a high-definition video of Kevin letting himself into my house, chugging my juice, putting his disgusting shoes on my coffee table, and then getting taken down by the police like a common criminal. The judge watched the entire thing without a single change in his expression. When the video ended, the courtroom was silent. Kevin's expensive lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. There was really nothing he could say after that. The video was the nail in the coffin. In the end, to avoid a felony conviction, Kevin took a plea deal. He pled guilty to a lesser charge of misdemeanor criminal trespass. He got 2 years of probation a hefty fine, and 200 hours of community service. My personal favorite part is that his community service involves picking up trash along the city's highways. A fitting job for a man who treated my home like a dumpster. He now has a criminal record, which is going to make it very difficult for him to get a real job should he ever accidentally decide he wants one. The fallout with Sarah was, of course, final. The day after the court case, she showed up at my house. I saw her coming on the doorbell camera. She wasn't angry anymore. She was crying. I didn't open the door. I just used the two-way speaker. "Can I help you, Sarah?" Her voice was shaky. "Please, can we just talk? I'm so sorry for everything. I know I messed up." "Yes, you did," I said, my voice coming out of the little speaker on the wall. "You showed me that you have no respect for me, my home, or my boundaries. You thought you could just make decisions about my life without my consent. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a choice." "I can change," she pleaded. "We can fix this." "No, we can't," I said. "Because the trust is gone, and frankly, my life has been incredibly peaceful for the past few months. I'd like to keep it that way. I've already packed up the rest of your things. They're in the garage. Your dad can come and get them this weekend." Then I cut the connection. I watched her stand on my porch for another minute, then she turned and walked away. Her dad came that Saturday. He was a defeated man. He didn't say a word to me. He just loaded her boxes into his truck and drove away. So, my life is back to normal. Well, a new, better normal. A normal where my expensive turkey is safe and my coffee table is shoe-free. The house is quiet, the security system is armed, and I have a new welcome mat at my front door. It just says, "Smile, you're on camera." Sarah's attempt to force her brother into my life didn't just fail, it backfired in the most spectacular way possible. She wanted me to get used to him being around. Well, she's the one who had to get used to visiting him during his probation check-ins. And he's the one who has to get used to wearing a bright orange vest on the side of the highway.